Mhm. And we are good to go.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to season 4 of the DSA. We have our first segment of season 4 with Around the Shroom here. I'm Nathan, joined here with my co host.
I'm Spivey. It's good to be back on Around the Shroom again.
Yeah, it's great to have you. We had a last minute call out by our usual host, Dawson. So Spivey's here to help fill in and um, getting right into it, just want to go ahead and just mention our sponsors here on the screen. Most notably, our presenting sponsors here, the Little BJ's, Rosalina's, two of the classics. Um, we have Donkey's Delicious Desserts, and finally Wawa Investments. So if you need any work from them, then head on down and check them out. Links to all of those places are in the bio, and not only that, but we have some of our lower level sponsors at the bottom there. So if you see anything that catches your eye, just go on and check them out. All right. Well, getting right into it, Spivey, we are gonna go over the biggest thing that's happened since the last Around the Shroom, and that is the draft. So we're gonna get into some big brained or boneheaded picks here. So what are you thinking for the first big brain pick that you have?
Let's see. If I was to go a big brain pick, I'm looking more towards it's kind of two picks. Um, Looking at the Slugging Heat's Dixie Kong and Toadette, being able to get those two solid outfielders, I think is a very interesting move in the third and fourth round. Um, let's see. I would also like to give an honorable mention to being able to get Dry Bones in the second for Me Mayhem. That's also a pretty good pick.
Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's a it's a pretty big pick for them, especially trying to form that chem around their team. That white chem that they had going on, which they kind of messed up later on, but we'll potentially get to that as we move further down in this. But yeah, I mean, I think that those are two great picks there. I think honestly, probably one of the biggest brain picks I can see in this draft is actually going to be the Wario pick by uh, by the Wigglers there. Just being able to get a third captain, and like we said, a league with 10 teams in this 10-team expansion, nobody expected uh, three captains to be on the same team here, and somehow they managed to do it. They managed to get Wario there, and I think they could have gone with the Bowser route and built more of a Bowser team with some of the bones on the board still. But instead, they chose to go with Wario and just stick to solidifying a really good pitching depth for their team. So
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. Wario was definitely a good pick at the top of the second round. And then they have a chem piece for Waluigi, and they have different routes to go down. Very
yeah,
interesting team they built.
yeah, and I think I just want to touch on another big pick. I think Fire Bro by the Fallout Boys was huge. It does come after the trade with Fury for Hammer Bro. But going back to Fire Bro after the season that he had last year and realigning him with the other bros, I think that was a pretty big pick by them there in the third spot. Um,
I'm not mistaken. I believe that pick was determined by the Hammer Bro trade. I don't think that pick happens without that Hammer Bro trade.
Yeah, there were talks of whether GM Brandon was going to trade down out of that spot. And I think kind of what you're saying is that getting Hammer Bro just made him. He decided that was the pick he needed to go with. So, um, I think that was probably one of the other big brain picks of the draft. So, But yeah, I mean, looking at the boneheaded picks, I mean, we can look as deep in the draft as you want, but what do you think are some of your boneheaded picks by these GMs?
I'm looking in the third round, and it's not even a question. I'm going baby DK for me, Mayhem. It just did not make sense at all. And not in the slightest. You were doing nice, right? You had to take Yoshi with a pick, but luckily you have comp picks, and you were still able to build White Kim. You have King Boo, Dry Bones. Those are two solid hitters. King Boo is a decent picture, but then you go baby DK, and I'm not sure what you expected you were gonna get out of baby DK, because he doesn't fit in your team at all. There's no brown cam around him. It's an interesting. It's no, not interesting. It's a dumb pick in my opinion. I think there was way better players that better fit that team in that spot they were in that third round.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Baby DK is probably one of the most glaring weak picks of the draft, especially in the third round of all places. I mean, I think I'm gonna have to say that's probably my biggest boneheaded pick of the entire draft. So, um,
I feel like
are
it
there
just
any
put
more
them in
though?
a. If there was any more, hmm, I'm not really focused on like the latter half, so anything past round five, I'm not really giving too much attention to. Um, let's see. I think the Royals going out and getting Purple Toad. I can understand Blue Toad, but I think them getting two Toads in round three. I mean, good chem pieces, but I think there was just better value they could have gotten out of one of those picks. Instead of going Toad for Toad.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, like looking at it, I could see why they decided to go that route. It's just because they didn't have another pick until the fifth round. Maybe they're just trying to make sure that they get a toad. But yeah, I mean, it did feel a little quick to go double toad there in the third round. But we did kind of start seeing the toads going, so may have worked out for them. But I think honestly, one of my biggest complaints for a pick, it might be the uh, Toadstool Titans. Um, Honestly, their Boo pick is kind of interesting to me. I
Really?
understand that he's one of the best pitchers in the league, and you just want that. But I felt like you could form a little bit more chemistry with the picks that were still on the board. Um, going with Bones or going with, I mean, Dixie Kong was still on the board, and I know that she might not necessarily be a second round pick, but being able to take another Kong and tying it in with DK would be huge, because I feel like their biggest thing is that DK just kind of sticks out on that team in chemistry wise. So I want to say that was maybe not a giant boneheaded pick, but definitely just one of the stranger picks in my opinion, and one that I just didn't really like for the Toadstool Titans.
Uh, I'm gonna have to agree to disagree because that was a pick followed by, I mean, that was a pick followed by a Kamek, and then before that they got Boomerang Bro. So they got an amazing three-piece trio, in my opinion, out of that Boo pick. Do I think Boo probably could have waited until later? Uh, maybe. Maybe they don't trade back like they did, and or I think they got that Boo pick because no.
They traded up with
They
they
traded
traded
up.
up for the Kamek pick.
Yeah, they traded up
They
for the
got the
Kamek
Kamek
pick.
pick
Okay.
from
Yeah,
Kimbo.
I think they could have gotten both of those pieces even without making that trade. I think they could. I don't think the trade should have happened. I think both of those pieces would have, either one of them would have still been there. You use your second round pick on Boo because you think he's a good pitcher, or he doesn't fall. A Kamek will fall to you. I believe a Kamek would have fell to them. Um, so I personally just don't agree with the trade, but I can get where you're coming from.
Well, with that said, are there any more thoughts on the big brain or boneheaded segment before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, moving on, we're gonna just take our draft takeaways in general here. So this is more of an open dialogue, kind of going through each team, and we're just gonna talk about whether we think this team won the draft or if we think that they lost a draft, and then maybe we can give some of our commentary or like where we think maybe the draft went wrong or went right for each team. Um, so I think it's just kind of an open dialogue. So we'll go ahead and start off with Fury. One of the teams in the finals last season. Would you say that they have won or lost this draft?
Hard question. I can't really say that they lost, but I can't really say that they won either. But I would be
Mhm.
leaning more towards the loss in the draft. Um, for the simple fact of them losing Hammer Bro, I get he wouldn't have fit too well into the team, but losing Hammer Bro, I feel like is a big loss. They did, however, replace it with Red Critter and then go completely red. And their red team is honestly not too bad chem wise. My issue is that they don't have a lot of there's not a lot of talent on that red board. It's mostly just me's. You have Diddy, Red Critter, uh, Dark Bones, Red Kamek. And I'm expecting playmakers out of Red Critter and Dark Bones, and then Kamek is playing his role. Diddy's leading the team, but outside of that, I don't see them doing much good hitting wise. I don't see their offense doing anything good, but their defense may be a little bit scary. I just don't. I'm not too fond of it.
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna have to agree. I think overall, I think that this was more of a loss for Fury than a win. I think they came out with a okay team, a kind of middle of the road, solid team, but kind of like you said, it feels like they're just kind of lacking. I mean, like you said, they had the middle infield, but they're kind of just relying on the Mies, and we know how inconsistent the Mies can be at times. So I definitely think that this is more of a loss for them. Um, Kind of like you said, losing Hammer Bro. I mean, they got some picks out of it, but those picks just turned into me's, which is kind of hard to see the value out of. Um, so we'll have to see how their team develops, but I think I'm gonna agree that their overall their draft was maybe a little bit more of an L here. So but looking at Critter Crew, I think Critter Crew has one of the more interesting draft because they had a great start. They had, they got King K, he fell to them, and then they traded up to go get Brown Critter. But then you saw them take a baby Luigi in the third round, which felt a little fast for a baby
I didn't realize that
in
was
this
Baby
draft.
Luigi in the third round. I would have. Okay, yeah, Baby DK and Baby Luigi. That probably would have gone on one of my boneheaded picks because nobody was gonna take Baby Luigi in the third, fourth,
Yeah,
fifth, sixth, or seventh for that matter. I
Yeah, I didn't even realize I had forgotten that they took him so early just because like it's not a player that I would expect them to take.
yeah.
But like, they're trying to stick with an identity and they go baby Luigi in the third round. I personally just feel like this is more of an L for the Critter Crew as a draft.
Yeah, that Baby Luigi pick is glaring. I feel like even if they wanted some green pieces, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell, but that Baby Luigi pick kind of throws me off of their draft. King K Brown Critter is they're in the same boat as Fury for me. But uh I can't look over the Baby Luigi pick.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you look later on in the draft too, they have a Green Noki who's starting on the field, which to all intents and purposes, Green Nokis can have okay defense, but their offense is just very, very lackluster, and I think that's just gonna hurt them after they get through the critters and King K. Their offensive ability is just gonna go off a cliff. So I think overall it's a little bit more of a loss for Critter Crew than it is for a win. I think they're kind of on the fringe, similar to Fury, that you could make arguments for both sides of that case. So yeah. Looking at it, what do you think the Fallout Boys? How do you think that they did?
I think the Fall Out Boys did amazing. I think they followed a similar yet better formula than what they did last season. Last season they had such a great team, they just didn't have the chem pieces around to to connect what they needed. Now they do. Now it's a decent, better looking team with Fire Bro and Hammer Bro, Green Dry Bones, Lil BJ. They have the Koopas. They have a Paratrooper. I think this is a way better team than what we're gonna see. It's hard for me to see them miss the playoffs. I think they won this draft.
100% agree. I think getting that Hammer Bro trade through with Fury, I think that was probably one of the biggest moves that they could have made. And I think the only other thing that they could have hoped for is that Bowser fell to them with the third pick. But I think most people kind of assumed that Bowser was not going to be able to make it to them. But outside of that, I think that they absolutely nailed this draft. I think that they have made such a great team, and a team that's going to compete for the title. So. Um, but moving on to the Royals, they also had a pretty interesting draft where they ended up just kind of making the same team that they always do, with slight changes here or there. Maybe making some tweaks to how they're going to form the team, but most of that comes down to the fact that it's just a deeper league.
Your
I think
highlight players are two Piantas. What
yes,
are we talking about?
exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna say that they lost this draft. Just overall, um, just not able to get players that really make that big of an impact on the game. All in all,
Yeah,
I think
I don't.
they're gonna rely on those blooper singles like they always have, and potential to see another 35-5 loss at some point this season.
Yeah.
Um, Well, if there's nothing else on the Royals, moving on to Warzone Warriors, a team that won last season, coming off of a big high here. Um, how do you think that they did overall?
Just as you said, they're coming off of a big high. I think they're about to have a really bad hangover because this is not a roster that I see doing um near the same performance. Uh, I'm glad they got Blue Critter back. They got Mario Blue Pianta. They got Blue Critter back. However, after that, it's kind of rough. I mean, they got good consistent hitter and Toads, but I don't see them making the big plays that they need to.
Yeah,
I
no, I agree. Their roster looks kind of a shell of what it was last season. They try to stick with the blue theme, and Blue Toad got snatched from them, and that kind of seemed to just derail them as a whole in terms of what they were going with. So, um, I agree. I think that they just lost this draft, and I think some of that was out of their control, having to pick last in the first round, and then having Blue Toad get taken from you, and just situations like that. I think kind of ruined their flow. But overall, I think that they could have done better with this draft. So I'm going to give them an L as well. Um, but moving on to Slug and Heat here. How do you think that they did?
I think considering their spot, I think they did okay. I mean, you get Funky. I just don't think the Slugging Heat had much of a basis to build on, considering all they could keep was the best they could keep was Peach and Tiny. I think considering that they were able to get nice chem pieces, but their team is just not at a state to where I think they were going to be like a near the same contender that I think they've been. I want to say that they won considering their places, and they were able to get such a strong outfield, and then we're still able to get two decent hitters.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and have to agree that I think that they did well here. I think that they ended up with a really good team overall. Being able to get Dixie in the third and then Toadette in the fourth was huge for them. I would say my only kind of strange pick is the blue dry bones. But I understand that just hitting power in general is kind of rare to come across nowadays. So just taking that ability to hit the ball deep is going to be huge for them. So I think that they definitely won this draft, and looking forward, I hope to see them build on it and kind of improve it. So
Yeah,
looking at Toadstool Titans, they had a kind of interesting draft. I think overall, given kind of how everything shaped or worked out, I'm actually gonna say that the Toadstool Titans won the draft, won their draft. I understand that they picked second and they went with DK and then didn't really build a team around DK. But overall, I think that they just built a solid team based on the pieces that they had, and they made moves to go get players that kind of fit their scheme a little bit more. Um, so I'm personally going to say that the Toadstool Titans won.
Well, I 100% agree. I mean, even with, I mean, they got two Miis to complement DK, and Brown Miis, but even without DK, like, DK's a character that you don't really need that much chem with because he's Donkey Kong. He, like, Boomerang Bro, Boo, Kamek, and the Yellow Shy Kai, there's a four chem connection. And I like I said earlier, the three piece you have with Boomerang Bro, Boo, and Kamek, I think they have probably the strongest infield in the league right now. Um, it's it would be hard to see anybody get over that infield. I wish they did have DK in a more advantageous position rather than third base, but I think it still will work out for them in the end run.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what they can do, being a new team here this season. But looking on to a team rebranding, but been here for a while. We got Dreamboat up next. Um, how do you feel about Dreamboat's draft?
Let's see, Dreamboat's draft. Mm, it was kind of hard to tell what Dreamboat was exactly doing. I think I might have had an idea. Uh, I do like I'm kind of up and down on the Pirtle pick actually. I'm not sure exactly where she fits in on this team. Similar to DK. Um, but it's
Well,
it's
if you must know, Berto does have chemistry with PD and Shy Guys,
huh.
so
That I
that helps out a
didn't
lot.
know. So that actually, yeah, that does help out. But even still, I don't think I can give Dreamboat a win. They had a lot of picks, and I think they used those picks well. But I just don't think I just don't think there's enough talent in those picks.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I would have to give Dreamboat more of a win. I think that they were able to form a team that works a little bit better around PD than they did last season, with pieces that actually help. I mean, they have a little bit lower hitting ability, I believe, but it might be something that helps out. Um, I think overall, Dreamboat probably lost his draft a little bit more. I think more of that comes down to just the team that they have to build around.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it doesn't help that they have to build around this PD team, who isn't a captain and who doesn't really do anything outside of play shortstop and hit big shots. So I think that maybe a slight loss here, but I think personally I would have to say that they won this draft more than they lost. So
Yeah.
um and then me Mayhem. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think that
There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. I don't
yeah,
have anything to comment on that.
there's nothing to say here about me mayhem. So the Wigglers, I think personally, I'm just gonna have to say that they won. They got Bowser, and then they got Wario, and then they built a team around that. I think there were a few kind of strange picks in there, but I think overall, just having those three captains, having pitching depth, and just being able to form a competent team is pretty huge for them. And I think that they were able to do that with this being a first time GM Benjamin.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that too. I don't. My bad. I think they did well. They got they got the picks they needed. They got the chem pieces they needed to early on. The rest of the draft was just easy cruising for them past like the sixth round. So I think Wigglers overall did a really great job on their draft.
Yep. Well, if there's no other comments, I think we're gonna go ahead and move on here. We're getting a little close into the game time here, so might have to run through these picks pretty quick. But this is gonna be our way too early postseason predictions here, primarily based off the draft, obviously. But um, I guess we'll work from the bottom up. So we'll just go ahead and list them off. Who do you think your 7, 8, 9, and 10 are the teams that are going to miss the playoffs.
10, I'm going me Mayhem. 9,
Me
I'm going
Mayhem.
Royals. 8, I'm going Warriors. 7, I'm going Slugging Heat.
Royals, Warriors, and Slugging Heat. So you think those are the teams that missed the playoffs, not quite able to get in, and not able to get the job done.
I think Slugging Heat can get close, but I think there's just better teams out there. I don't think we're gonna see them be as competitive as they normally are. As for the
I
Warriors,
would agree.
Warriors and me and Mayhem, it's yeah, their roster is just not on a competitive level at this current time.
Yeah, I would agree. I think trades are going to be a big part of this season, and I think that's obviously going to change this from week to week. Um, every week, I think we're going to look at this and think that it's something new, something different. Um, So, but I pretty much agree with you. I think the only thing is that I would swap the Warp Zone Warriors and the Royals here. I think the Royals just maybe have a little bit better chemistry and just ability to get the job done on the field. So I think I'm going to swap those two, but I do have the same teams missing the playoffs. Um, but yeah, I think looking next up, I think for me, my 5 and 6 are gonna have to be Fury and Toadstool Titans. I think both of these teams have solid teams that can work, but I think that they're just gonna barely make it in, barely squeak in, maybe on run diff or something like that. And I think realistically, either one of these teams could be swapped around in the 5, 6, or 7 spot.
Interesting. I mean, I do have Fury at 6, but I think at my 5 is a little bit different. I think at 5, I'm gonna be putting Critter Crew.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Any explanation or?
I genuinely I love. Don't get me wrong. I love the critters. I love the critters. I always love watching the critters and King K play. So, but however, I just think these four teams have a little bit better. I don't think that much better. I just think these four teams are a little bit better than what the Critter Crew has to offer.
Yeah, that's fair. Who are your 3 and 4 then in that case?
My four, I have my four, I have Dreamboat. My three, I have Wigglers.
Wiglet, or sorry, Dreamboat, and then the Wigglers here at the 3. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, I think both of those teams are pretty solid options. I do think it's going to be hard to see how the season plays out, but I think that a lot of these teams could be switched around. Um, Realistically in any of this order. But I think that my top 3 teams are kind of just more defined by the teams that ended up with solid all around Kim teams. But I think I'm gonna put Critter Crew here at 4 and then Dreamboat at 3 for me personally.
Mhm.
Um, but looking at the 1 and 2, I think I'm gonna have the Fallout Boys getting the job done this season and taking the crown. Uh, oh, that's not what I meant to do. And then the Wigglers just falling a little bit short here at the 2 seed.
Yeah, I also have the Fall Out Boys at 1. I think the Fall Out Boys can win it all this year. I really do. I really do believe I'm really high on the Fall Out Boys. I think Fire Bro, I think we see MVP Fire Bro once again. I think him having one of his brothers with him in Hammer Bro, I think that's going to be complement so well. I think little BJ is going to take a step forward. I think this is a team that's honestly going to go all the way. And then Toadstool Titans at the 2 because I am very high on this infield. I think there's infield and their offense could be I think their offense could be more dangerous than we think, and I love their defense. Their defense wins championships. Let's leave it like that. Like defense wins championships.
Well, we'll definitely have to see how they play out. But Looks like we're mostly getting ready for game time here. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say, if there's any final thoughts, might as well get them out here.
No, I'm good. I don't got anything else.
All right. Well, I think that covers it for this around the shroom session. I hope that you all enjoyed, and I hope that we see you all out there tonight supporting your favorite team. And I can't wait to see what these teams do with the rosters that they have. See how they build them out, and with new teams, it might make things a little more interesting as talent is more spread across the board. So, with that said, I've been Nathan.
I'm Spivey.
We'll see you next time.